So a small disclaimer before we start. I'm a total noob at Unmatched. This is an incredibly popular game franchise that has been floating around in my peripheral vision for years. The fact that it's never taken my focus is that I'm suspicious of the whole skirmish game thing. Frankly, I don't think I've ever enjoyed myself playing a skirmish game. They either tend to be rules exception nightmares that require me to constantly go back and forth from the rulebook and ruin my immersion completely, or they're laughably simple, offering no real decisions other than walk up, smack, repeat. Now, while I adore innovative simplicity in games, I've always found this reductive attitude to game design deeply unimpressive. It was only when I saw that the new Unmatched set pitted characters from Shakespeare's canon against each other that I was tempted to give this one a go. And spoiler, I'm really glad I did. Most of you watching this will be aware of this 4-year-old game system at this point, but for those, like me, who until a week ago were completely in the dark, well, here's a little primer. Restoration Games specialises in reprinting and sprucing up old and well thought of games so the modern gamer can get hold of them. More than that though, these games are redeveloped, taking advantage of the advances in game design that have come along since they were originally designed. Some of their most well thought of restorations are Return to the Dark Tower, Fireball Island and the enduringly brilliant Thunder Road Vendetta. You can watch my review here. Unmatched is a reworking of Star Wars Epic Duels from 2002, a team-based or free-for-all skirmish game using individual decks to lend each character their own unique personality and fighting style. Unmatched veers from the, I'm sure, hugely expensive Star Wars license and puts people like King Arthur, Bruce Lee and loads of Marvel characters in the arena together to fight to the death. The real USP of this one, and the primary reason it pokes at the addiction centres of the brain, is that every one of the over 20 sets of Unmatched are compatible with each other, leading to oodles of different combinations that can slug it out in loads of different locations, which results in a system that keeps refreshing itself while keeping former releases relevant. Pretty bloody clever, really. Incredibly simple in its core mechanisms, which is fantastic, because it's in the individuality of the characters where the game excels, and to have those varied powers dance above a base that is simple and easy to learn is very good design. On your turn, you take 2 actions from a choice of 3. You can manoeuvre. You draw a card, then move your hero or sidekicks up to their movement value. You can boost your movement by discarding a card and applying its boost value. You can scheme, which means playing a card with a lightning bolt symbol and simply doing what it says. Or you can fight. If your character is melee and adjacent to an opponent, or ranged and sharing a zone with an opponent, you play an attack or versatile card, and the poor soul you're smacking can play a defense card if they wish. If the attack value is higher than the defense, the defender takes the difference between the 2 values in damage. There are also supplementary effects that trigger before, during or after the battle. These can be as devastating as the attack, and leveraging these effects is where the real challenge of the game comes from. If you kill your opponent, you win. It's that simple. The real joy, though, is wrangling with the mechanisms of your character. So let's get on to those. The creator of all the characters in this set, Shakespeare hits hard and uses a troupe of actors, no doubt thankful for the work, to surround him and keep him protected. His real strength here, though, is harnessing the power of the foot, the iambic foot. Cards used in battle have a syllable count, and if you can use these to successfully compose a line of iambic pentameter, 10 syllables, you have a veritable lexicon of powers available to you. These let you draw more cards, inflict extra damage and gain more actions. Shakespeare has low hit points though, so leveraging those actors is vital. I mean, they'll do whatever you say, as they probably haven't eaten in weeks. I'd never heard this description of the witches from Macbeth before, but a little Googling revealed that the first folio edition of the Scottish play refers to them in that manner, so every day's a school day. You start the game with 3 heroes here, and no sidekicks, with the sisters leveraging the power of their cauldron to influence the game. Instead of discarding cards, they are placed in the cauldron. Each card carries an ingredient. Get the right ingredients in there, and after battle you can cast spells to wreak havoc in the Globe Theatre. The Prince of Dithering is much more determined and forthright in this one. Accompanied by would-be assassins Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, no doubt here so that when they die you can exclaim, "Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead," very overrated play by the way. Hamlet's power here lies in the question, to be or not to be. Choose to be and you're flooded with cards. Flip onto the not to be side though and you inflict even more damage when you attack, but your pact with the infinite will result in one of your fighters losing 2 valuable hit points whenever you choose it. Queen of the Fairies, partnered by her husband Oberon, uses the glamour of her kind to gain victory. She can draw from a deck of glamours that give her the ability to swap places with her husband, move through opponents, or fill her hand with cards as she flits around the board. This little deck of cards, combined with a glut of hit points, makes her the most powerful character in this set. Before, I was attracted to the characters in this one rather than the game itself. But after playing this a ton in the last week, I'm not just taken with the brilliant thematics the characters embody, but I've become a big fan of the game itself. What is so clever about the Unmatched system is the way the dead simple core mechanisms meld with the idiosyncrasies of the various characters to allow them to take centre stage. Move, fight, or do a special power is a solid foundation on which the rest of the game stands. Unmatched shares one characteristic with the other restoration games I've played, and that is that it's been rigorously honed to produce one thing: fun. That doesn't mean, though, that the game is dumb. Far from it. The fun from this game is in the ability to leverage your unique powers to develop plans that, with judicious execution, can be realised. This isn't just a random brawl. It is a fight of wits as much as strength. Everything has been thought about here. The arrangement of the board is a case in point. It is small enough to ensure that there is constant action, but the placement of the different zones opens up routes of escape and makes the opponents of the single ranged character in this set, Titania, think about every move, lest they come into the range of a devastating attacks. Ideas are the easy part in any creative venture. It is the work to transform those ideas into something functioning and tangible. It is where the real labour comes in, and that labour is apparent in every aspect of Unmatched. You can see this work in the thematic verisimilitude of the heroes, the way their disparate mechanisms gel, and the balance of the game, which almost always results in a game that is tight and tense right to the end. This balance never feels imposed though, and the success and failure of your game is solely down to you and your ability to maximise what your hero can do. This is so important. If you feel like a game is playing you, you'll feel cheated. But in Unmatched, even if you lose, you did it on your own terms, and there is that wonderful feeling of ownership as you play. It is you that has to choose when to engage, you that has to manage your hand, and it's you that has to play the right card at the right time. What is so gratifying here is how thematic the characters are. I know a little about Shakespeare, but I played this with a Shakespeare scholar and he couldn't hold back in how well the characters in this game reflected their literary counterparts. Hamlet feels driven to his inevitable confrontation with death, as his desire to win causes him to wrestle with what is not to be. Titania mischievously plays with the rules of the game as she flits around the board. The witches take a malevolent glee in pulling vile brews from their cauldron and watching the chaos ensue. And the iambic pentameter mechanism perfectly illustrates the challenge in composing the perfect line. This was a vital part in my attraction to this game. Unmatched has great rules and important decisions, but it is in its dedication to making the characters feel unique and plausible that makes this a must play. Without the thematic elements, it would be a well-designed skirmish game. With them, though, it makes Unmatched Slings and Arrows a total riot. I have to be honest, though, Titania does feel more powerful than any of the other characters here, but, and this is important to note, not obtrusively so, not in a way that ruins the experience in playing this one. Give Titania to a less experienced player, and this way you'll have to balance the experience. Many people have told me that Unmatched was really a two-player game, and the four-player variants weren't worth it. I've played every format of this one, and they all work wonderfully. Turns are quick and there's barely any downtime, as you'll be sure to be picked on by one of those bastards around the table soon enough. I find two-player games hard to get to the table, but I would have no qualms in playing this with four. I was really pleasantly surprised by Unmatched Slings and Arrows. This is a simple game with deep decisions and it's a whole lot of fun. I went in attracted by the theme, but I came out wowed by the sheer craft that has gone into this game, and it has certainly made me curious about the other sets. So, thank you for watching. Like the video if you liked the video, and if you really liked it, you can sub to the channel. You can buy merch at someeple.com and support the channel at patreon.com/5G4D, like these lovely people. Right, I'm off to go and read a Shakespeare play. No, not really. I'm going for a pint.